It's Friday. We're going to pop the trunk. Jalen?
We got to give the people.
What do we give them?
Give the people what they want.
Before we even get started, I want to recognize something, Jalen. I would like to salute to you, and I would like to salute to every other voice that is on the Grantland Sports Podcast Network, because I don't even think you know this yet. We were selected by iTunes editorial staff as the best podcast of 2014.
Now that's what's
the whole
up.
Group, the Grantland NFL, the Zach Lowe pod, the Jonah Carey pod, the NBA After Dark pod, and Jalen and Jacoby. So congratulations to you,
That's
brother.
what's up. Big shout out to Team Grantland. We letting it do what it do.
If you don't subscribe to Grantland Sports, go to iTunes and subscribe to that. You get every single one. Jalen,
And shout out to the editor-in-chief, Bill Simmons.
Yeah, and shout out to Joe and Carlos and Harlan, who do all the real work. We just sit in a room and talk.
And you on every podcast.
I'm running the whole thing, man. Shout to me.
Good for
Shout out
you.
myself.
Exactly.
So we're doing something new today, Jalen.
Okay.
We're going to do like a little musical introduction that has something to do with the topic that we're going to discuss.
Okay.
So let's just start with this
So
one.
in other words, we're going to give other people something else to copy. Got it!
Boom, there you go.
Okay, got it.
Joe, play the first track, please.
Let's get it. You know where we starting at.
Dej. I knew this would get you in the right mood for the podcast, Jalen. This is me manipulating
I
you.
feel like Rocky in this corner, you know?
So there's a reason we're playing Detroit versus everybody. Because in Los Angeles...
And when people start talking about dope lyricists, they better put Royce to 5'9" in that category. I'm sorry. Go
No, I feel that.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say Big Sean's, then we're going to have a problem. So we got Kobe versus everybody in Los Angeles. He doesn't really practice. I didn't really realize that he wasn't practicing.
Not a game.
So he shows up at practice. Oh, we just happen to have the vine from the homie Arash Markazi. Let's take a look at what Kobe is up to. He's basically just cursing at all of his teammates all the time.
Well, as we cue it up, I just see some notable things in the video that I want people to pay attention to.
Okay.
The banner's hanging up,
Oh, here
and the
he is.
jersey's hanging up.
See, now there might be some bad words in this. So basically he's saying, oh, is this the type of thing that goes on in practice? I can see why we've lost 20 games. He's upset. So look at that. He was kind of talking in the direction of Nick Young, and I'll get to the questions in a second, but let's set the scene. Nick Young, he fires back. You know, he's got a voice. He's gonna let his voice be heard. Nobody in the world can guard me one-on-one. Okay, now who'd you pour that out for?
That's for Nick Young. Please continue.
Okay. I like his confidence. This has me thinking, I mean, this is because Kobe Bryant's involved and because we live in a generation where practice becomes, video that's online so quickly. Here's my question for you is this just happens all the time, right?
It does. But let me tell you a different dynamic. Remember, professional athletes, when you're in practice, your job is to push each other each day and make everyone better. Mm-hmm. And if you're a reserve and you're playing less minutes, it's your job even more to push the starter or to push the 19-year future Hall of Famer, because that's how you get everybody better on a daily basis, you hope, in practice. The dynamic is off and it's unique. Here are a few things that are unique about this.
Okay.
One, having a player that plays the most minutes, takes the most shots, that never practices.
Yep.
Okay.
Takes the most shot in the league.
Okay. Also, that can scream at every player, at the coach, and at the GM without any ramifications whatsoever. And so now when that happens, when he's on the floor, it's almost like when you go get a run. You hope it's a good run.
Yeah, every time.
And if it's a bad run,
I keep walking.
Guys taking poor shots, making bad decisions. How about this? You're in Vegas, you're sitting at the blackjack table, the person in front of you making bad decisions.
Hit on a 15, dude. He's showing a 10. Just hit on the 15, because my card's coming next.
Right?
Just hit on the 15.
Correct.
It's a 16-5, but a 15 hit on it.
Correct. And so now you out there, you Kobe Bryant, you like, I need to get some work in. I need to get a sweat in. This is what goes on in practice, and he blows his top.
But Just how often does this happen? Because
every day.
Everyone who's listening to this podcast, every time they put on their shoes, there's going to be some sort of argument or disagreement and tempers flare. And that's kind of why we're there too. It's like oddly like it relieves tension in your life. But this must happen in practice all the time.
And so remember, the NBA is a fraternity. The only thing that divides us is accolades. But the accolades come from outside of your team. Nick Young doesn't decide who goes in the Hall of Fame or who becomes an all-star or who the media loves or who's going to be celebrated. So your job as a peer is to play basketball and try to do your best. But more importantly, you're seeing the frustration of a player that has accomplished so much, a 5-time champion. And again, note in that video, the championship banner's hanging all on the walls. There's great players, retired jerseys hanging on the walls. That creates a level of expectation that you want to see from that organization every day. But the reality in sports, it's going to be some times when the Yankees not in the playoffs. The Lakers, it happens. And this is their turn to go through it.
So there's two ways, because it's well documented that Kobe's a very competitive, obsessive, wants to win type of human being. It's also no secret that this Lakers roster is not going to win. Like, they're not going to the playoffs. They're not going to be successful. So Kobe can either go one of two ways. Can he get zen? Can he get Phil Jackson zen and just ride out this season? Or is he going to continue to kind of push and like be, for lack of a better term, an asshole to his teammates?
He's going to be the grouchy neighbor that says, stay off my grass.
Yeah?
He's going to be a bear to play with these next 2 years because he's seen the best of the best. And his team won't get anywhere near that over these next 2 seasons. And also, I want to go back to something that you mentioned when you talked about the will to win. There are certain cliches that are set in sports, like he's a terrific leader of men. Well, he refuses to lose. He would not allow his teammates to struggle. He would not settle for anything but excellence. But I've seen some of the best players play on crappy teams. That's what happens in professional sports. And so what makes that a cliche to me is, if I got a thirst to win, why don't you just go sign a minimum contract and play with the Spurs?
Oh, if you're really thirsty to win, there's a lot of opportunity for you.
If that's the case.
If winning's the priority.
Right? And so now that this becomes professional basketball.
I like what you did there, Jalen.
If business decisions are involved, you handle them accordingly. Where do I sign for my 24 this year and 25 next year?
Well, do you know who he signed with?
That's what he did.
Mitch Kupchak. And Mitch Kupchak just happened to be at this practice. Let's just see if Kobe had some choice words for him. And if you're listening to this with children in the car. All right. So they're supposed to make him better, which I found as someone who's never played the National Basketball Association interesting. And you mentioned it earlier in this podcast that there is some sort of onus on the bench to make the starters better through practice.
When Floyd Mayweather is getting ready to fight Manny Pacquiao and or vice versa, the sparring partner's got to bring it. That's how this goes. That ups the ante for everyone involved. And the other thing I like about that, when you've been around basketball so long, Mitch Kupchak played in college. He played in the league. He's been a GM. He's been immersed in the game. That's nothing to him.
He didn't even look.
That was white noise to him.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, go back and look at the Dwight Howard video when they finally lost in the playoffs and he was walking through the tunnel after he got ejected. He barked out some things to Mitch as well. Mitch never even looked twice.
He's heard it before. That doesn't change him emotionally. He's like, whatever, Kobe Bryant. You're going to blame me for what? For this roster? Please.
Again, great players, let's leave the cliches. Sometimes they struggle. Michael Jordan played for the Wizards. Joe Montana didn't win the Super Bowl in KC. It happens. And so this is his year and next year. Because remember, who do they play tonight? This is a Friday we do this podcast. Go, Spurs, go. And I guarantee you, Wednesday night, Kobe was just like us. Watching League Pass.
Yep. Did a lot of games
Spurs
on Wednesday.
playing. Wait a minute. They playing without Tony, Tim, Kawhi, and Manu?
They rest Pop sometimes.
And they're still winning?
Yeah.
So the next day, he like, wait a minute. I want to get a good sweat in because we got them on Friday. And I'm trying to pass Michael Air Jeffrey Jordan. He's not trying to take 32 shots to get 32 points. He want to have an efficient game tonight. That's what that was all about.
I thought it was interesting that Nick Young is an outspoken individual, and he's obviously got a lot of confidence. Anyone who's seen him on the basketball court knows that. And he was sort of talking back a little bit. But this tweet from Arash is the homie, by the way. He hangs around the Grantland office often. This tweet I found interesting, and I'm quoting him now. Nick Young pulled Jeremy Lin and Jordan Clarkson to the side after practice and told them to stand up for themselves after Kobe got on them. I thought that was interesting. Like Nick Young walking over to Jeremy Lin and be like, don't let Kobe talk to you like that.
And that means absolutely nothing. And here's why. Because when it's 3 minutes to go in the game, tonight against the Spurs, Kobe going to have the ball. And you know what he's going to be doing to Jeremy Lin? You stand there. You stand there.
Jordan Clarkson, you wave a towel.
You stand there. You come pick.
Yeah.
And so what Nick Young has to be careful of is not allowing his outgoing personality, and I really like the fact that he does have a real personality. Yeah. Like he's really engaging. Nick doesn't have a mean bone in his body. But what he has to watch is when you're slap boxing and somebody's fist fighting you back. And Kobe wasn't playing, and Mitch is not going to be playing, and that's why they hired B. Scott. Because they're going to be aligned and on the same page. And he can't circumvent what they've already established as great championship caliber Lakers. They won't allow that to happen. So it's great that he probably went and tapped them guys on the backside. Hey, man, put your head up. It's going to be all right. Don't worry about that. You know, stand up for yourself. It's all right to talk back to him. That's good as a teammate, but as long as that stays private. I would have liked that not become public.
Yeah. Now, do you think this is Kobe motivating, being a leader, pulling the strings, or is this Kobe just venting frustration?
This is Kobe venting frustration.
This is Kobe, not calculated.
This is Kobe seeing that there's 7 teams in the Western Conference playing 700 basketball. And we gonna be bad next year too.
Yeah, we got 60 more of these. We got 60 more of these before I can go on vacation.
That's what he's saying. He want to go into passing MJ in a meaningful game. Like a lot of times people joke with me about Kobe scoring 81. And that game gets showed a lot. And I have no shame because he's a great player. I've seen so many great scores put up terrific scoring games. And actually, he's still 20% from the record, which is 100. But that still was a meaningless game in the overall body of work that happens in an NBA season. We were a team that wasn't going to the playoffs.
No.
We didn't have anything notable happening for us that year. We were a bad defensive team anyway. Now, it meant something to me when I saw him score 65 against the Mavs in 3 quarters, and that team went to the finals.
Yeah.
So Kobe's in a situation where now he understands as a student of the game, he's playing in meaningless games. Like when we put the stats up there, it's a footnote what the teams that are struggling is doing. The national media is always talking about what the good teams are doing. So Golden State, the return of KD and Russell Westbrook, these are the storylines.
Lakers don't even make SportsCenter anymore.
Yeah.
Like the games don't get shown on SportsCenter.
You know, Cavs on
They'll
the win
show a
streak.
full screen. Like, this guy scored this many, this guy scored this many. Anyway, next.
Boom.
I have a question for you, Jalen. You said this happened often, but what has been one of your most memorable sort of practice experiences? Like, what's something that happened to you at practice?
On each team that I ever played for, I had a time where I was starting and a time when I was coming off the bench. Every team. So, especially if I was a reserve, oh man, I used to go hard. I used to talk trash. I used to treat the game. I used to say all of the chants you hear me say in practice and talking trash to the starting lineup.
You talk trash to like sales dudes when we play pickup. Okay?
Exactly.
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Exactly. So again, if I'm in Denver and I'm on the sub squad and I'm going against Robert Pack or Brian Stiff or Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf or Reggie Williams, I'm talking trash the whole time. Same in Indiana. If I'm coming off the bench, I'm talking trash to Mark. I'm talking trash to Reggie.
Does it get serious? Like it got serious here, it seemed like.
It gets serious when you're actually talking trash and you're playing really well. Like, it's one thing to talk trash to me. It's another thing when you're killing me. Go back and look at Kobe's 81 game. He was killing us, but he never said a word. He wasn't doing none of that. Because if he did, I would have took him out. Just playing basketball, putting the smack down. And so when you're doing that in practice, tensions do run high because your teammates take that personal.
Joe, play the next track for the next topic.
Being on some chill.
Yeah.
0 to 100 real quick.
Big shout out to the
On
Six.
that rap to pay the bills.
Good looking, Masai.
Not even a little bit. Oh Lord. Know yourself, know your
There's a reason we're playing this one.
My actions being louder than my words.
Good beat, right? That beat kind of knocks. You know who likes that beat? Me. Do you like this beat?
Yeah, I like that beat a lot.
You know who else likes it?
The person that did it.
And Puff Daddy.
Boy Wonder.
Puff Daddy. Yep, Boy Wonder made the beat. And as the story goes, Puff Daddy had it a long time ago, and when the track came out, Puff Daddy was on stage. I got this from TMZ. That's my favorite source. Puff Daddy's on stage.
Media Takeout, World Star, Big shout.
Those are our sources.
We do y'all every day.
That's how we prep
All
for the podcast.
SOHH.
That's how we prep for the podcast.
Black Sports Online.
Baller Alert, all that. So then he's on stage, and he's basically saying that Drake stole the beat from him. Right, Boy Wonder made the beat, and that Drake stole it from him. No big deal. This kind of thing happens all the time. Producers just send their beats around or whatever. So then the story comes out a few days ago that Diddy punched Drake in the face outside of Live at DJ Khaled's birthday party. I have a lot of questions for you, so just take in the information, and I'll ask the questions.
As somebody that's been to Live multiple times.
Yeah, so all right, so it's a big, obviously, you know, DJ Khaled's from Miami. It's his birthday. It's the biggest club there right now. So the story is that Diddy punches Drake in the face. Oh, no, first the story is he beats him up. Then the story is he beat him up because Drake was hitting on Cassie and he was drunk. And then the story is, oh, no, he only punched him once and it wasn't a big deal. And I think the story was over some disrespect. And then the story was that Puff Daddy yelled out, "You'll never disrespect me," okay? My first question is, oh, wait, and then the latest thing is that Puffy punched him once because of the stealing of this beat from Boy Wonder. My first question to you is, how can anything physical happen between them? Because you know that these two are not walking around by themselves.
I got a celebrity version of Hold Me Back for everyone.
Ooh.
When you're a celebrity and you're out in public and you're a mogul like Sean Combs, and you're a mogul like Drake, you're not Dolo. Okay, because it's just like that. You got friends with you. You got people that are there watch your back. You got security.
You're not getting a slice of pizza and hailing a cab.
Correct. And so whenever one person throws a punch, it's over really at that point. Because just like referees at a game, everybody's intervening in one way, shape, or form. And remember, everybody got love for each other. Khaled don't want them beefing, especially at his event. And so, again, we weren't there. And whether Diddy allegedly got a couple of punches in or whatever happened, to go back to the original point, it's about the beat, necessarily. What do these guys do initially for a living? They make music. It's gonna be hostile.
Well,
and that's a hit record.
So let's get down to the beat. I assume that Boy Wonder sent it to both of their camps, right? And whose responsibility is it to buy it and then own it and then distribute it? I kind of feel like it's on Boy Wonder to sell the beat and then let the other people know that that's off the market.
Correct. That is how the process goes. Whoever stepped up to the plate first, they get the beat.
There you go. And I think so. I mean, I don't understand how this could turn to beef. Obviously, I don't have the details of all this. I'm sure there's a lot that went into it that we don't know about. But it kind of seems to me on the surface, it's like, look, man, like I made the song and then released it, so don't talk to me about it.
Hey, but also, I mean, Diddy did the video that you mentioned in June. He was on stage with Mace and he played the beat, and he wasn't happy about it then. So I would deem, if I'm Drake, I was not surprised that he was unhappy when he saw me.
I'm sure word got to Drake over the last 7 months that one of the biggest people in his industry is upset with him. It probably got to him.
Correct. Long story short, where did this go? Nowhere.
It went to TMZ. It went to our podcast, and then it's just going to go away.
These guys are two bosses. We've had Drake on the podcast.
And we've already had Puff Daddy beat up Steve Stout allegedly with a champagne bottle.
Yeah, we got to get Diddy on the podcast.
And then a month later, they're just like, oh yeah, it's cool, we squashed it.
Yeah.
We squashed it. No big deal.
Ain't gonna be a big deal. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
So you're throwing nothing at this.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Here's my thing: is I feel like Drake knew that Diddy felt a way because he had to. There's no way that he doesn't hear that. So I kind of feel like when you're in the club and there's someone around that there's a thing with, like it's kind of just on your mind the whole time. Like I feel like that's what was happening.
And also, like in the movies, the dude started walking faster. Yeah. I could just see Diddy walking a little faster with a little pep in his step. Yeah. And then the 14 people behind him
25,
exactly, they all walking faster too. So
yeah.
I don't think too much coming of this at all.
All right.
Now that Chris Brown Drake thing, that was serious.
Yeah.
I'm glad they squashed it, which they did. Ask Tony Parker. That got out of control.
There was a while there where Tony Parker seemed like he was it seemed like Chris Brown and Drake were going to affect the NBA season. Like the title was going to change because Chris Brown and Drake got into beef.
Yes, indeed. But again, hey, it's a competitive sport. They'll get through it. It's all good.
All right. And we're going to stay with the beef theme. Joe, what's the next track?
Yeah!
Beef is when you need two cats to go to sleep.
With the throwback Jesus piece, that's Jacob.
Beef is when I see you, guaranteed to be in ICU. One more time, what's beef?
Why are we playing this song, Jalen? Because there are reports of beef in the Knicks locker room. We've all read it. We've all heard it by now. And for some reason, it's awesome.
Biggie was messing with somebody from the Knicks girl. He said, one of them 6'5" cats.
If you go online, I forgot which site did it, but someone broke down the whole thing. Like the team that they were playing against, he was 6'5", and they figured out that it might have been John Starks or something. Like he might have just made the whole thing up. But there's shout out to whoever did that piece online. It's really interesting. Because they took I forget, they were playing the Sonics or something. So he did the whole math of who it could have been. Shout out to them. But we're playing this because there's beef in the Knicks locker room. And that beef, allegedly, we have no idea what's happening, but allegedly there's a problem, and it centers around Carmelo Anthony and, of all people, Tim Hardaway Jr. So I'm just going to straight up ask you, we haven't talked about this before the podcast, have you spoken to Tim Hardaway Jr. about this?
I don't need to.
Okay.
I could, but I don't need to. He or Melo. Here's why. When your team stinks like theirs does, this is the only argument or incident they've had?
No.
Remember what I told you guys. Great teams, when you make a mistake, my bad. You right. Good pass. He ain't even looking. You wait till he turn around. You smiling. You coming up with handshakes, new dances.
Yep.
Your kids playing together.
We saw the Warriors on the plane doing the Coco dance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good team.
Like I said, losing is the exact opposite.
Someone needs to start doing Instagrams of the Knicks planes after losses.
Correct. It's J.R. Smith following people during the game on Instagram. And again, they're a bad team. And while Philadelphia is struggling, they planned to tank.
They're a bad team that's way below expectations.
You have Amari Stoudemire on the roster, Carmelo Anthony on the roster. You would think that while I never thought they would be a playoff team this year, they would be a lot more respectful. Mm-hmm. And Phil Jackson came out and said it. This team has developed a loser's mentality. But I got a line I need to throw Phil that everybody's kind of letting go under the radar. When he first took the job, in order to be hands-on, to order to lay it down like it was supposed to be laid down, like there's a new sheriff in town that's getting $65 million. I'm an all-time puppet master. These are the things I expect. He should have coached the team. I know he has health issues, but again, remember, he coaches a team. This team is on the East Coast. Buses and trains to Philadelphia, Boston, Washington. Mm-hmm. Toronto's a short trip. Detroit's a 1 hour plane ride. Yeah. Those cities and those games are in a closer proximity than people really realize.
Charlotte's not that far. Even Miami's like 2 hours.
And attending, if not every road game, the majority of them. Now, if he's not going to road games and he's not coaching the team, that's why Steve Kerr ain't taking the job.
Do you know what I like, Jalen? No one criticizes Phil Jackson. The Knicks are probably the team that's performing the most under expectations. Or it's certainly organizational expectations. Maybe not expert expectations, but the organization did not think this was going to happen. And no one's saying, hey, Phil Jackson, I thought you were supposed to turn this around.
Here's some math if you James Dolan. And, of course, he got money to
he
blow.
doesn't care about math.
Yeah. 125 to Melo, 65 to Phil, 25 to Fisher. He's going to be a first-year coach. Allow Phil to coach and bring him along as an associate head coach. That's what Pat Riley was able to do with Eric Spoelstra. They had a 20-year relationship that acquired equity, and all of a sudden, then he was able to become the coach. Derek was the first-time coach standing on the sideline, almost like a sacrificial lamb, except he got $25 million. If Phil would have coached the team initially, then all of a sudden he could implement the habits. He would have had Melo's voice. He would have had Derek Fisher's voice.
You know what's never going to be on the back of the post? Fire Phil.
Never.
It's never going to be on the back of the post. You know what is going to be on the back of the post? Fire Fisher.
Yes.
You know?
That would have allowed the transition to happen better. Now, but again, and here's greatness for everybody. And I joke with my guy Steve Nash about this, but as you get older, you pay attention to your legacy. You pay attention to your statistics. Steve Nash ain't trying to play in an NBA game and play 13 minutes and have 2 points and 2 assists.
Yeah.
He is not trying to do that. Okay? Phil Jackson is not trying to coach a Knicks team in 14, 15.
20 and 62. Yeah.
Exactly. So instead of him doing that, hire Derek Fisher to do it.
And Derek Fisher has the out of being like, look, I just took this job and the roster and blah, 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 blah. It just seems like this Knicks team, and it's not a surprise, does not have any chemistry whatsoever. What's the worst chemistry situation you've been in?
The worst chemistry situation I've been in was being in Charlotte and Ray Foster not passing me and Mo Pete the ball.
Yeah.
How can you be a point guard and not pass it to the guys on the wings?
And he told you he wasn't going to pass.
Yes.
That's hard. That's hard. You know what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna get the tape of that game and do a special Jalen and Jacoby.
Good call.
For at least 15 minutes of the pod.
Because I brought this up a couple times, and people, I'm pretty sure they like, how can that be? Just like when I say I never shot a brick from the side.
Just
of the
like you
hoop.
said, you never been dunked on, even though you've been dunked on.
I played basketball for 20 years straight, 13 of them in the NBA. Show me the footage, anybody. I played on the national stage. Anybody, my stats, my whatever ain't hard to find. Show me getting dunked on.
I'm gonna start doing that hallway dunking on you thing where I have my homeboy walk up behind you with I'm gonna start doing that. Keep talking about it. Now, there's people talking about Carmelo Anthony waiving his no trade clause. Now, we are about 24, 25 games into this season, and this is already a topic of discussion. But I understand. It's a bad situation. And if you're Carmelo Anthony, you think you're one of the premier players in the league, which I'm sure he does, and you're looking around and you see that this ship is sinking. Isn't there a party that's like, I want to get out of here?
Well, the ideal world would have been to go to Chicago and get the same money New York gave me.
But that wasn't on the table.
Correct. And here's a business deal, okay, a move that people never talk about. We give so many people credit for making a quality business decision, owners and GMs in particular. Go to Chicago and make $75 million. Or stay in New York for $125 million. How long does it take to make that decision?
Look, if he had known the way that this was going to break, I bet he would have stayed in Chicago. If he had a time machine, if he had the Bill and Ted's phone booth, he would go right back and go to Chicago.
Like Scarface said in Mine Got Chased, I got a little boy to look after. He's trying to get that bread. You can't walk away from that kind of.
It's just so easy for me to say.
David
it's easy
Jacoby.
for me to say.
David Jacoby, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Ballmer. Nobody walks away from $50 million. No one.
Will they? He won't trade, right?
Now, if y'all gonna trade me and I can get my bread, cool.
So that was being talked about, and then Steve Popper tweeted from his agent, Mr. Rose, there have never been discussions about trades or wanting to leave New York regarding his client, Carmelo Anthony. Here's the thing. Whether there were discussions or not, that's what the agent's going to say.
Well, what's going to happen is Melo going to be done playing with them for this year.
So,
I mean, my neck, my back,
let's
my
play
neck
keep it
and
100.
my back.
Let's play keep it 100. What happens with Carmelo this year?
He be suited and booted by January 1st.
Really? Just in the training table, making up little nagging injuries here and there?
See, here's what happens. When you've played as long as he's played, I'm pretty sure he has some maintenance that probably needs to get done on his knee. I'm hearing he has some issue with his knee and some other, aches and pains. It happens. What better time to get him fixed now? Like Shaq said to the Lakers, I got hurt on company time. I'm going to rehab on company time.
So your prediction is by what, January 15th he's in a suit?
No, January 1st.
January 1st, he's going to play Christmas.
That's why I said January 1st.
Okay, he's going to play Christmas. January. All right, so we'll see. We'll do a pod right around then, and we'll see. I don't want you to be late for Countdown. We got a lot more topics to cover.
Okay.
They're going to be quick hitters.
Let's do it.
So cue the red man.
Anytime another grown man had me walking around with a piece of tissue in my nose, he's a dope MC.
One of my favorites.
Big shout out to the Hit Squad.
Here's my thing. It's like, I'm not saying that he's one of the top 5 rappers all time, but for me personally,
we got the funk body.
he's probably top 10. All right. Who do the Warriors trade? Lee or Iguodala? Real quick.
Lee.
Quick hitters. Lee.
Draymond Green is playing so well, and you want to
Like
keep
18
him.
and 8,
and
though.
also Harrison Barnes.
Isn't that reason you could trade Iguodala too, though?
But I think they need another big body. You got to rely on the fact you got to understand.
Isn't David Lee that?
But he
Who are you going
doesn't.
to trade David Lee for that's going to be big, that's going to do different things than David Lee?
So I like that David Lee's a productive player.
18 and 8 or something?
But
Like
how he gets his points, they found different ways to get those points. Now they need somebody that's going to be a physical presence defensively that can another big body.
All right.
Draymond Green and Harrison Barnes are forward sized. They can't flip over and play center.
All right. James Harden, 44 points last night, 8
went
assists.
off.
Is he an MVP sleeper?
He's in the conversation. Team doing well.
That
He's
team,
doing well.
Dwight Howard's on the bench for whatever his weird reasons.
And I talked about Anthony Davis and compared him to James Harden because that night Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson was having a conversation because we talked about it on our show. Yes, if I was starting a team today, like the NBA GMs predicted, I would take the 21-year-old
He's 21
Anthony
years
Davis.
old. Yeah,
I would.
Of course.
But you have to reward the process. And remember, there was a time, and I'll name some current players. Boogie's putting up big numbers. We still want to see him in the playoffs.
Get healthy, Boogie.
Kevin Love is putting up big numbers. We want to see him in the playoffs. And so Anthony Davis doesn't get a pass around that. Terrific young player. I love his game. Yeah, he's the preeminent young talent at the 4 or 5 spot in the league. He is.
He's a preeminent young talent in the league, period.
No question about it. But if today was a game 7 and it was 3 minutes to go in the game, I'll have to take LeBron, KD, Steph Curry,
Chris Paul over him.
CP3.
It's different. You great.
Tony
21
Parker.
years old. All those dudes
Russell
are like
Westbrook.
28, 29, 30 years old. That's what happens.
That's what I'm saying. So just as media and as fans, let's give our young players props, but pump the brakes a little bit.
brakes.
Dwight Howard numbers, and we expected him to get to the finals.
Yep.
So let's allow Anthony Davis that same room to grow.
Yep. And his team is 10 and 11. Just throwing out there. He's 10 and 11.
Hey, I just know this. We gonna be watching the playoffs. He is too.
I need to remind you something. You've got to get to the countdown shoot. So play Red Man again. These are quick hitters. Play Red Man again, Joe. These are quick hitters. Time for some action, Jalen.
Remind me of East Islip, New Jersey, going out there with PMD in the studio. The
Shout out to
first
Eric
joint
Sherman in Paris.
Red
All right.
Man was hardcore to make
Quick hitters.
Hardcore.
President Obama says he likes the Bulls over the Cavs this year. You buying it?
Speaking of President Obama, I'm disappointed in those Sony's emails that got leaked.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You said he picked
Pour
the
some out for
Bulls.
Sony.
Yeah, he picked the Bulls over who?
He picks the Bulls over the Cavs this year. He likes the Bulls over the Cavs.
I do too.
Okay. I disagree. Whatever. I'll disagree with the president on a few things. What do you think about Chris Brown and Carucci just airing each other out, breaking up over social media?
They're public figures. And they haven't changed. And here's what I mean. There are certain people that live their relationships publicly.
They did very much so.
And so the good days, if I see them at the mall holding hands, I don't mind them when they're disagreeing publicly.
What do you
I
think
have no
about the
problems with
offensive coordinator, Mr. Cromer, of the Bears, saying they have quote-unquote buyer's remorse about Jay Cutler?
it. I hope he's renting or leasing because after this year, he will not have that job.
And his tearful apology to the team.
Yeah, because I'm crying because I realized they just gave this guy a $100 million deal and they paying me by the hour.
And I'm the one talking
and
about
we struggling. And by the way, we got other weapons like Martellus Bennett. We lost Brandon Marshall this year. We got so many things offensively that should be happening that's not happening.
I think this is going to be a weekly quick hitter because I think it's going to change a lot. Who's in the Super Bowl? Go, 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 go. Got to answer.
Seattle.
What?
Over the Lions in the NFC Championship.
All right, we're going to the next question.
And then the
We're going next.
AFC.
You don't even know. I'm not
And the
letting you get away with
AFC,
this.
I'm going with the Patriots.
I'm not getting away with this. All right, your take on the dude that
Revis
stole
Island is back.
the Patriots. I'm in on. You know that's my team. What do you think about that dude that stole a truck full of LeBrons before LeBrons came out?
Like, for real,
$1.5 million worth of LeBrons.
This is what keeping it real goes wrong. Like, this is one of those grand ideas that you think, you know what, this really makes sense.
You know he was with his homeboys like,
Yeah, exactly. Yo, we don't have all of these shoes.
Yo,
bro.
I got this idea. I got this idea.
For the whole hood.
Yeah, they got a whole
For the
truck full of
whole
LeBrons at my job, man. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna get all those LeBrons.
Yes. And then before you know it, you like Craig on Friday. You get fired on your day off.
Yeah. What do you
Because-
think is gonna happen? They weren't noticed?
What are you gonna do with 4,000 pairs of shoes? Like, where are you gonna put them?
You can sell like 15 pairs, right? Because of the 15 people you know, and then what do you do?
Right.
You're just gonna start an eBay account and say, I got 7,000 pairs of LeBrons before they come out?
How about this? Those shoes end up costing you money because then you got to go try to buy a storage bin and try to hide them, and then they're gonna shut your eBay account down.
By the time you get like 200 pairs off, they come out with the next LeBrons.
Yeah, that too.
You know what I mean? Like that's only hot product for like a month, but it's like, why am I buying from you when I can just go to Foot Locker?
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's
bro.
that's one of those. That's why I implore young people to be a leader, and here's why. If I'm gonna follow somebody to go rob a bank, I'm drawing up the plan. I know that.
All right, so basically what you're saying is your advice to the young people is if you're going to rob a bank, draw your own plan. I don't know if that checks out, Jalen.
No, I'm just saying create your own blueprint in life.
There you go. Now I like that better. I like that better.
A lot of things people do because they think the cool kids are doing it, or they're doing it because everybody else is gonna like it. It's okay to have your own opinion, your own flavor, your own convictions.
I like it. The Thunder have made inquiries about a very interesting basketball player who has had a good year thus far, Wilson Chandler.
I thought you were talking about me. I was about to be like,
Check
oh,
your
I'm
phone.
retired. Wilson Chandler would
You wouldn't do well in Oklahoma City.
I would not.
There's not enough going
I
on.
would not. The restaurants
You'll be
close
watching
way
movies.
too early.
You see every single movie.
Exactly. I like him for them. And here's why. You have him and KD as interchangeable fours with Ibaka at the 5.
But there's at least 15 minutes of every game when that second unit is on the floor, and he would could carry that the way Lance carried the Pacers.
I like that pickup. If Wilson Chandler goes to OKC,
Who they have to give up though? Like who's leaving?
as long as you don't have to give up that core of KD, Russell, or Ibaka,
Adams? You
or
think Adams?
as long as
Like,
I
you
can
gotta
keep
Adams.
if I can keep Reggie Jackson and Adams, y'all can take any of the other
Anybody.
guys.
Mitch McGary later. Yeah, yeah.
Come get him.
Take all of them. Yeah.
You can take all of them and
Take
just send
all
us
of
out.
them. We don't even need 12 players. We only need 8. Now, you know we like to give the people what they want.
I give them what they
We
need.
always listen to the fans, and the fans sent us some questions.
Dope.
All right, this is interesting. This is from Julie Fair. Shout out to our female audience.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Julie.
We're gonna do more things to get them involved.
Exactly. I'm gonna take my shirt off. What are your thoughts on the Dubs and Coco Gate? Let me just set this up for you. OT Genesis has a hot song. It's hot in the streets right now. Coco, I'm in love with the Coco. We played the clip of the Warriors team playing where they're dancing to it. After victories, they would make another one. Maurice Spade seemed to be the ringleader of it. It was all fun and games. However, they got shut down. And they got shut down for the reason, guess what that song is? It's a love song about an illegal drug called cocaine.
I was singing Mary Jane growing up for years and didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
Okay? But here's the deal. When you go to a sporting event, football game, a basketball game in particular,
We're getting deep, Jalen, on this one. Okay.
all I know is during the game, during plays, while a guy's dribbling the ball up, while somebody's taking the ball out of bounds, I hear hardcore hip hop all of the time.
And if the song's too hardcore, they play the instrumental.
Yes. So again, this is one of those things where everybody is trying to be way too politically correct and need to just fall back.
But let me play the other side of that, Jalen. It's a song that says, I'm in love with the Coco. And you've got the face of your franchise singing along to it. And there's a lot of young Warriors fans. And that's probably not, they could probably pick a different song.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, when you go to your favorite collegiate basketball game today, this weekend, or your favorite sporting event professionally, when you're there in the warm-ups, you can see all of your favorite players singing all of the records that they're playing in the arena. If they're playing it in the arena, I would think I could play it in my car. I would think we could play it on the plane. I can't have it on my headphones.
So here's my question. They stopped doing it. Who's the person that says they have to stop? Is it Steve Kerr? Is it like the general manager? Does the league call the owner? Like, how do you think this worked? The PR guy? I could see all of the above working.
You make I'm glad you brought up all of those options because any of them could tell them to stop.
Yeah. And you know what? You know what they say? Like, all right, I see that check, and I'll do whatever you say, sir. Yeah, no problem. We'll come up with another song. Next, who's the softest and toughest player you ever faced? And this is from superfan Brendan.
Who's the softest player I ever faced? I felt like when I was in college, I felt like Damon Bailey was soft.
Yeah?
Like he was really hyped, and I think he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
He was, yeah.
I felt like he was soft.
All right, there you go. Shout out to Brandon.
And
who's the toughest you ever faced?
Toughest? I love driving to the basket against Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, Patrick Ewing, those teams.
That Hicks versus Knicks thing. Like it didn't matter if you weren't a fan of either of those teams. You watched everything.
Correct. Like when I first got into the league in '94, all teams had a couple of bruising power forwards up front, and so that was almost every team you face.
There it is. The
guys
Knicks
will put you on your backside.
All right, last one from Twitter. Do you think Lance Stevenson is he? You know what? Let's skip this one, Jalen. Let's skip this one. Let's skip this one, Jalen. But we do need to show the URL. We've got something going on for the Leadership Academy.
Yes,
don't you?
indeed. As always, we're trying to do what we can to help influence the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. I will be playing fantasy football this Sunday. Please join me. FantasyHub.com. You're going to win a customized bobblehead. I'm getting one made, holding the bat.
Yup.
And I'm going to sign that Fab 5 jersey again.
FantasyHub.com/JRLA. You play fantasy against Jalen, raise money for a great cause, and you can come home with a bobblehead. You can come home with a signed jersey. Who knows what's going to happen.
And also remember, tuition-free public charter high school. We get 000 state funding for our facilities, whether it's purchase, whether it's lease, whether it's renovation. And so it's very important for us to continue to fundraise.
Absolutely. Now, every week, we're going to try to give the people what they want and play us off with a song.
Yes, indeed.
This is one of my favorites. One of my favorite new rappers on the scene. Hit it. Little ASAP. New song, Multiply. We'll be back. We're going to pop the trunk. You never know when we're going to be back.
People come into your life for 4 reasons. Add, subtract, multiply, or divide.
I love it.
Choose wisely.
Next Thursday, December 18th, we've got another Grantland Basketball Hour coming. We're gonna have some fun with it. We're gonna debut a new story time with Jalen Rose on the 18th.
I got a story to tell.
Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah.
Shake it off for Satan just to paint her nails and pay her. Yeah. I ain't really with that bench drill. Swear them booty like tip drill. Nah, I ain't really into throwing shots. But these mother better give me my props or the pot. Who the reason that these getting thrown? Reason why you win gold. Jail pose in the pictures, spraying fingers to your nose. I remember if Pimp was alive, you'd tell these